Today, we're diving into the darker side of Disney as we discuss the top 10 most intense villain deaths in Disney movies. At number 10, Bill Sykes met his end with an oncoming train. Bill Sykes stood out as one of Disney's craftiest yet most despicable villains. His sinister plan involved kidnapping young Jenny Foxworth and demanding a hefty ransom for her safe return. The story reached a climax as he pursued Jenny and her friends through the bustling city streets, with the animals doing everything in their power to rescue her. In a tense moment, they managed to pull Jenny away from the path of an oncoming train. Meanwhile, Sykes was preoccupied with dealing with Oliver and Dodger, the two brave animals who were fighting to protect their friend. In the scuffle, Sykes tossed the animals aside, inadvertently sparing their lives. It was only then that he realized too late that his vehicle was heading straight towards a speeding train. The collision was sudden and devastating, marking a quick and grim end for the villain. At number 9, Oogie Boogie came apart at the seams. In one of Disney's darkest animated films, Jack Skellington faced off against the sinister Oogie Boogie. As the battle raged on, Jack noticed a loose piece of string on Oogie Boogie's patchwork body. He grabbed it and began to pull, causing the villain's cloth covering to unravel. As the fabric came apart, it revealed that Oogie Boogie was actually a writhing mass of bugs held together by the cloth. With nothing to contain them, the bugs started to spill out, falling into a pool of molten liquid below and meeting their end. The scene was both horrifying and grotesque, as Oogie Boogie's form disintegrated and his voice fractured among the swarm of insects. Throughout this gruesome demise, Santa Claus watched with a steely resolve. He showed no sympathy for the villain who had caused so much suffering, even stomping on one of the escaping bugs to make sure it couldn't cause any more trouble. Oogie Boogie's end was as disturbing as his character, marking a fittingly grim conclusion to his reign of terror. At number 8, Dr. Facilier's debt caught up with him. In The Princess and the Frog, Dr. Facilier found himself in deep trouble when he lost track of Prince Naveen. Desperate to find the prince, he turned to his eerie friends on the other side for help. Facilier needed Naveen's blood to keep up the charade of disguising Lawrence, and in return, he promised his otherworldly allies all the souls in New Orleans. However, things took a turn for the worse when Tiana managed to destroy the magical talisman that was crucial to Facilier's plan. Without the talisman and Naveen, there was no way for him to fulfill his grand promises. This betrayal didn't sit well with the spirits he had bargained with. Furious and feeling cheated, they turned on him. They captured his shadow, pulling him into their dark realm as he struggled helplessly. In the end, Dr. Facilier's fate was sealed. His sinister dealings and broken promises led to his downfall. The only trace of him left in the mortal world was a tombstone bearing his name and a depiction of his terrified face, forever marking the spot where he was dragged into the other side. At number 7, the hyenas turned on Scar and killed him. In The Lion King, after a fierce battle with Simba, Scar found himself cornered. Desperate to save himself, he tried to shift the blame onto the hyenas, claiming they were the real villains. Scar had used the hyenas to help him gain power, so when they overheard him betraying them, they were furious. Realizing he had thrown them under the bus, the hyenas decided to confront him. The look on Scar's face was a mix of shock and fear as he realized he couldn't talk his way out of this situation. The shadows cast a dark and ominous scene as the hyenas advanced on him, and it became clear that they intended to exact their revenge. The audience saw the hyenas leap at Scar, and although it wasn't explicitly shown, it was heavily implied that they attacked and killed him for his betrayal. Scar, who had always been able to manipulate and talk his way out of trouble, found that the hyenas were beyond reasoning after he had turned on them. His fate was sealed by the very allies he had once controlled. At number 6, Ursula the Sea Witch met her end by a ship's bowsprit. In the thrilling conclusion of The Little Mermaid, Ursula was determined to eliminate Prince Eric. However, Ariel intervened just in time to stop her. In her fury, Ursula accidentally killed her own eel henchmen, Flotsam and Jetsam. This only fueled her rage, causing her to grow to an enormous size, towering over Ariel and Eric. Intent on destroying them both, Ursula unleashed her formidable powers. She summoned a violent thunderstorm and created a massive whirlpool that trapped Ariel. The swirling waters also pulled several sunken ships to the surface. Seizing the opportunity, Eric took control of one of the ships and steered it directly toward Ursula. Blinded by her anger and focus on her enemies, she didn't notice the ship until it was too late. The sharp bowsprit of the vessel pierced her, bringing an abrupt and dramatic end to her terror. Ursula's massive form sank beneath the waves, dragging the ship down with her. At number 5, Mother Gothel's true age caught up with her. Entangled, one of Disney's most beloved princess movies, Eugene made a daring move to save Rapunzel by cutting off her magical hair. This act broke the spell that had kept Mother Gothel youthful for so long. As the golden glow faded from the hair, Gothel's reaction was immediate and frantic. She desperately tried to gather the severed strands, but it was too late. The magic that had sustained her vanished, and she began to age rapidly. Horrified, she rushed to a mirror only to see her true ancient self reflected back. Her skin withered and her hair turned gray in an instant. Overwhelmed by the sight, she covered her face, but the rapid aging didn't stop. In her panic and disorientation, she stumbled and fell from the tower window. By the time her descent ended, her body had deteriorated so much that she turned to dust before even hitting the ground. Her end was as swift as it was grim, brought about by her desperate reliance on the stolen magic and her ruthless pursuit of eternal youth. At number 4, the evil stepmother met her end on a cliff. In Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, after tricking Snow White into eating the poisoned apple, the evil stepmother found herself pursued by the enraged dwarves and forest animals. Desperately trying to escape, she climbed up a steep rocky slope and ended up trapped on the edge of a cliff. With no other options, she attempted to use a large boulder to crush the dwarves below. However, just as she was about to push the boulder, a sudden bolt of lightning struck the cliff. The ground crumbled beneath her feet, causing her to lose her balance and plummet off the edge. The boulder she had intended for the dwarves also rolled off the cliff, as if ensuring her demise. Adding to the darkness of the scene were 2 vultures watching eagerly from above, their eyes narrowed in anticipation of the inevitable. As the evil stepmother fell to her death, the vulture's presence underscored the grim justice of her fate, marking the end of her malicious reign. At number 3, The Horned King's Demise by the Cauldron. When The Black Cauldron hit theaters in 1985, it sent shivers down the spines of many viewers. In a climactic moment, Gurgi, a loyal companion, made the ultimate sacrifice by leaping into the cauldron to stop the terrifying Cauldron Born. His selfless act caused the Cauldron Born to crumble and perish, much to the dismay of the Horned King, one of Disney's most formidable villains. Enraged by the turn of events, the Horned King sought someone to blame and fixated on Terran, who happened to be nearby. Determined to reclaim control, he attempted to sacrifice Terran to the cauldron. However, the cauldron's dark magic was indiscriminate, pulling anyone and anything into its depths. As the Horned King was drawn closer to the cauldron, the sinister power of the artifact began to consume him. His flesh peeled away from his bones, leaving only a grotesque skeleton clinging to the cauldron's rim. Despite his power and arrogance, he was ultimately powerless against the cauldron's dark magic. At number 2, Zira's tragic end at the cliff's edge. In The Lion King II: Simba's Pride, the formidable villain Zira met her fate in a dramatic showdown. Hanging on to the edge of a cliff above a raging river, Zira's grip on life was tenuous at best. Kiera, embodying the spirit of hope and reconciliation, extended a paw to her adversary, believing that peace could still be achieved between them. However, Zira's pride and bitterness blinded her to this opportunity for redemption. She stubbornly rejected Kiera's offer of help, determined to face her fate alone. As she struggled to hold on, the precarious ledge gave way beneath her, sending her plummeting into the churning waters below. Originally, the scene depicted Zira intentionally throwing herself to her demise, but this was deemed too dark for a Disney film and was ultimately scrapped. Nonetheless, as Zira fell, her expression twisted into a haunting smile, revealing the twisted satisfaction she felt in her final moments. At number 1, Clayton's tragic end in the jungle. In the climactic showdown between Clayton and Tarzan in Disney's beloved Renaissance film, Clayton's shotgun was rendered useless, sending him into a rage. Fueled by anger, he brandished a machete as the two adversaries clashed amidst a tangle of hanging vines. Despite Tarzan's attempts to peacefully resolve the conflict, Clayton's fury knew no bounds. Ignoring warnings, he indiscriminately slashed at the vines, ensnaring him, desperate to break free. In his blind rage, Clayton succeeded in severing all the vines except the one wrapped tightly around his own neck. As the tension reached its peak, the audience witnessed the harrowing silhouette of his body suspended by the vine, illuminated by flashes of lightning in the stormy jungle. It was a haunting and tragic end to a character consumed by his own aggression and thirst for dominance.